Hello and welcome to a new retrospective where today I'm going to be talking about the classic shooter Myriad on the Commodore Vic 20. It's kind of continuing a bit of a Vic 20 theme because previously when I dug out Scramble for the Vic 20 I spotted quite a few classic Vic 20 games that I thought would be really kind of cool to talk about and talk about some of the memories about as well. And Myriad was another game that I kind of picked out the pile. And this particular game, so I got my Vic 20 back in, for my birthday back in November 1989, and that Christmas of 1989, my mum managed to pick up some more games, like a bundle of games, and what she did was, my aunt and uncle gave her some money, so half of that bundle, which included games like Jetpack and Alien Demon and Plague, which was a double pack, they had those in one bundle, and then in the other bundle there's a load of Rabbit software games. So there's Myriad, Cyclones, which didn't work unfortunately, English Invaders, and I think there was another game as well. So I had these bundles to open up, which was really exciting, and I absolutely loved playing Jetpack over Christmas, and whilst the Christmas dinner was cooking downstairs and I could smell that going on, I was loading all these different games up, and Myriad was yet another which just absolutely blew me away. It's nothing like I've ever played before. It's like this, essentially it's almost like a very early bullet hell shooter. You have all these things that you have to, different enemy waves that you shoot, and it just gets absolutely chaotic on the screen, and it's just an absolute, it's like having a proper arcade in your home. It feels like an arcade game, very arcadey, and lovely chunky sound effects, which you'll see in a bit. I actually used to pronounce this not call it Myriad, but I used to call it Myriad for some reason, and I used to do that quite a lot with games. Chameleon I used to call Chamalon, but I used to call this for years Myriad until someone turned around and said that's actually Myriad. So there you go. Okay, so I'm just going to kick straight into it. So this is the tape edition. We're loading up. And this is a game that's written by Steve Clark. And this was written very early on, back, so as you can see, July 1982. And Steve is extremely talented. Very talented guy. When he wrote this game, he kind of had some kind of object-orientated approach when he developed it. So I managed to get hold of Steve in later years, luckily, and he kind of just to kind of tell him how much we loved his game. And my friend Paul Drury did a feature on Myriad for Retro Gamer magazine, and kind of spoke to Steve about it, which was quite nice. But yeah, this is a game which, if you kind of play it for long periods of time, you can. There's a really cool thing where you can get every single type of enemy wave. So we saw some of the waves described. Then you can manage to get pretty much all of them on the screen at the same time. Because what you can end up doing is you end up shooting most of the wave, but maybe have one enemy left, and then the next wave comes in automatically. So you can kind of stack them up in a way, which is kind of neat. As I say, things get really busy quickly. And I think, I don't know how many levels there are. I'll just have a look at the cassette while that's loading up. So I think there's about 28 waves or 30 levels or something in total. It doesn't tell you actually. It just basically loops essentially. It's a kind of like most space shooter games. It will just keep looping till you run out of lives essentially. Right, let's speed this up a bit. Get this loaded. Okay, that's completely failed to load. Let's try again. Okay, it might help if I put the memory expansion on. It's not warning me. There we go, try now. Schoolboy error. Here we go. Okay, so a lovely, bright, vivid screen as well. So, let's just kick straight into it. It's got a nice, colourful looking ship. So straight away, it's just absolutely chaotic and mental. I mean, this is just the start. After a while, the screen will just kind of fill up and just go crazy. So these ones, we have to shoot them when they're facing a certain direction, otherwise they deflect your bullets back at you. And you can can see the next wave's already come on, even when I've not destroyed the other wave. So I don't know what my parents thought, because I was playing this at full blast on Christmas Day, 1989. And these random arcade sound effects were just blasting down the stairs. Okay, so you have like a shield like Phoenix. So when you press space you can get the shield that comes up. And after a certain amount of waves you will get given extra shields, which is really handy. And you'll need them later as well, when things get very busy. Good thing is you can fly pretty much all over the screen as well. So I can go right to the top if I want to. Sort of no restrictions like Space Invaders. So here I tend to use the shield quickly to get rid of some of those. Those sound effects are absolutely gorgeous. Always love them sound effects. They're really nice and chunky and loud. I used to think those ships then were the same ship that you used to get in the Amiga race as well. I thought they just kind of lifted it. So I'd say this is probably one of the best Rabbit software games that ever come out. And I think it got converted to the ZX Spectrum, but I don't think it was anywhere near as good, unfortunately. I think there's even been a sort of a 64 conversion, an unofficial one at some point. But again, it's just nowhere near as good. I think it's the chunky sort of 20-column visuals of the VIC-20 which really make the game stand out. Like most of the stuff on the VIC-20 really, like the Hellgate just seems infinitely better on the VIC-20 because of the character size and things having that chunky feel to it. On sort of the 40-column mode of the 64 it just doesn't seem to work as much. Okay. But it's a shame really, because I'd love to see something like this. I mean, the closest I've probably seen to this sort of game is I think Red Runner and Green Runner on the 64. Just sort of more like a Centipede sort of clone. I didn't time that very well. Let's try that again. So I'll just use the shield to get rid of a few of those, to try and make it a little bit easier. So yeah, this is a game that, so what I often do with the VIC-20 is, around about Christmas time, I dig out the VIC-20 and load up a lot of these games that I used to play on Christmas Day. And I'll sit and play Myriad happily for about an hour or so. And then try and complete it. So often I'll try and sort of cycle around, get through all the waves. I do that with Jetpack as well. Jetpack's another great conversion. So that was an official conversion that was done by Ultimate Play the Game. I think it's the only VIC-20 game they did, sadly, as well. And what a VIC-20 game it was. See, the screen is just absolutely full now. That's why you need those shields, just to try and clear it a little bit. So even though it does get chaotic, you can sort of just about see what's going on still. So it's not like your bullets do get a little bit lost, but you can still make them out. You're not completely blind to it, and you don't really feel it's completely unfair if you get killed. It's just so much fun. Though I'm really doing terribly now. See if I can get out of this. And these things are just mental as well. Look at them. So you do get this, as you can see here, you get these little asteroid bits, where it's sort of like a bit of a respite, so it gets you ready for the next wave, where you've got the more rows appearing. Oh. Okay, but luckily you can see what I mean, how sort of chaotic it does get. I was kind of slightly worried that I might not do very well on an emulator and get that far, but... And it gets worse, it does get even more chaotic, because you've still got quite a few rounds to go yet. And you kind of got a mixture of everything really. You've got a bit of asteroids in there, you've got a bit of Centipede and Millipede, like Galaxians and Space Invaders, everything's sort of chucked into it. And there's sort of like almost Robotron-esque chaos as well. I don't know if one of the things I didn't ask Steve is if Robotron was any kind of inspiration at all because of the chaos in it. Maybe it was, I'm not sure. But yeah, he mentioned that he had a sort of very early pre-object orientated method of when he was stacking up the game code as well, which is quite interesting. I can't quite remember what that was exactly, but a lot of the stuff he was doing in this game was kind of ahead of its time. And he was a very clever guy. Unfortunately, we didn't really see that many games. I think he went into sort of more the management or business side after that, which is a massive shame, because I would have loved to have seen what he'd do next on the VIC-20. Maybe a Robotron game, that would have been really cool. I think I'm going to be a goner in a minute. Got no shields. There we go. Okay, so that was Myriad on the Commodore VIC-20, or Myriad as I used to pronounce it. A really fantastic game if you haven't played it before. I'm sure that if you do play VIC-20 games, you probably have played it already, but if you haven't, please check it out. You can find a copy of this in GameBase, and yeah, give it a chance. It's a really fun and chaotic blaster, and one of the best VIC-20 games that you'll ever get to play, up there with the likes of Amiga Race and Jetpack, for instance. So that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed it. There's a copy. There's the original game if you want to kind of try and hunt it out for yourself. You'll find loads of copies of Myriad on the internet, on eBay and stuff. It's a fairly common game to pick up. Yeah, check it out, and I hope to speak to you soon.